Hi everyone, it's Ryan with SacramentoAppraisalBlog.com, and let's talk about how to make this specific graph. Okay, I want you to be a visual storyteller, whether you're an appraiser or realtor, or if you have access to MLS data. It's so powerful to be able to tell the story of the market. Okay, what I like about this visual are really two things. Okay, and by the end of this, I want you to be able to create it yourself. So here's the two things. Number one, it shows prices from 2018 through 2020. And so we see this seasonal element in the market where prices go up, then they soften. They go up, and then they soften, and they go up. And so there's a seasonal trend. But number two, what I like is that it shows three different price metrics. And so on this graph, I think sometimes in real estate, we fixate on the median price or whatever sort of our pet metric is without realizing, well, what are all the metrics doing? And so when we pay attention to everything, we tend to get a very balanced view of the market, especially, some months, like say right here, it looks like we could say, whoa, the market's increasing. But then you look at the median price, no, it's flat. Or the average price per square foot it looks like it's maybe going down. And so I think sometimes if we focus on only one thing, we miss the big picture of the market. Okay, so now let me show you the two-step process. Number one, you have to pull your data, okay? And so the key is for you to figure out how to get your monthly data. This sounds like a tedious part, but it might actually be very easy in MLS. But the thing is, you do it once, and then what you can do with what I show you with Excel, you can simply update it once a month. You create a template, and then you just add on to it, okay? So your first step is data collection, and secondly, you'll insert it into Excel like I'm going to show you. Okay, but in my MLS, what I would do, I want to select my criteria, and I'm going to go with one house on one lot. For me, I don't include condos because my sense is that condos dilute the data. They water it down, lower prices, oftentimes more foreclosures, and so I don't want to include condos. Now, if in your market it makes sense to include that, that's completely fine. Okay, just make sure that you define the criteria and do the same thing every single month. Okay, but I'm going to look at April, show you how I get data for April. Here's all of April that I've selected. We scroll down and I've selected my counties. Now, maybe you do a zip code or you do, your whole entire market area or you do a particular city, but the key is that you have enough data to be credible. If there's only 15 or 20 sales in a given city or zip code, I mean, prices are going to be all over the place and you're going to have this crazy looking EKG graph that probably doesn't make any sense. Okay, and so you be the judge. But in my MLS, I've selected my criteria. I'm going to click the statistics tab. And I love this because it's basically a shortcut. I had nearly 1,600 sales and I can quickly get data. Here's the median price. The selling price, median price is 436. The average price is 481. And how I get the average price per square foot is very easy. I look at the average price and then the square foot, and then I divide 481 divided by 1887, and I get my number. And so I basically do that for every month. Now, I can also do this manually. If I was able to export all nearly 1,600 sales, then I would have to, tally them up in Excel and, do some math. And that's more tedious that way, but it's doable. But again, if you do your homework in advance and it takes you a couple hours to do this, that's fine because then on a monthly basis, you can just add to it. Okay. Now let me show you, the step two. And my goal here is for you to be able to do this by the time we're ending. Okay. And so you basically want to set up your date and then whatever metrics you're looking at. And here I'm looking at median price, and average price per square foot. I've already pulled all of these just to make this video simple. And I know already that it starts at January 2018. So I'm going to push January 2018 and I'm going to push return. Excel shortens it to Jan-18. Now I'm going to left click in here, and do you see this little black square? If I grab it with my mouse, I left click and I pull it down, check out what it does. It puts everything in sequential order. And so you don't have to manually type in every single date. Now, this is very easy how to make this graph, and let me show you. So I'm going to left click in column A, then I'm going to push Control and then left click in column C and then keep my mouse on and I'm going to highlight D and E, okay? And then I've let go of Control. And basically what I want to do is I want to go up to Insert and I can select whatever type of graph I want. In this case, I want a line graph, so I'm going to push Line Going to click that one. Okay, I'm going to left click to make this a little bigger. And let's basically experiment with how to make this graph look nice. Okay, that's sort of the remainder of this video, and I'm going to have you have extra tips for about 10 minutes or so. All right, so first of all, we see that we have a problem. We have the median price and the average price way up here, and then the average price per square foot is way down here. And the reason for that is because median and average, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, but the average price per square foot is basically about 255. And so of course it looks like a flat line. And so what I want to do first and foremost is I want to left click, or I can right click, left click on the green, okay? And then I'm going to right click and go to Format Data Series. And what I want to do is I want to create a secondary axis. So I'm going to click that box and push close. What that did is it created this secondary axis right here. Okay, now we're going to make this look right. It's not balanced right now, but let me sort of walk through with some different things I'm going to do. Okay, so first of all, let me go ahead and right click in the legend, and I'm going to go to Format Legend. I personally want it on the bottom. Okay. And then let me right click again, and I want that to be a larger font, and so I went up to 12. Okay, let me double click in the table here, and I'm going to go to border color. I just want to make sure that it's a solid line, and I want it to be black. Okay, if you don't want something there, that's fine. But I don't like, right now it shows a black border around the whole graph. I want to get rid of that. I think it looks much more clean when there's no border whatsoever. I'm going to double click, border color, no line. Okay, I don't like how dark the grid lines are, and so I'm going to right click on that, and then on any grid line I'm going to go to Format Grid Lines and Line Color, a solid line. And I'm going to make them very, very light. Now, it might be too light for your taste here. I just feel like it makes the graph look incredibly busy when it's too dark. And so you do whatever works for you, okay? I'm going to left click again in this chart. I'm going to go to Layout, and I want to go to Chart Title, go to Centered Overlay Title, okay? I'm going to put Price Trends in Sacramento, or actually, let me put monthly prices in Sacramento region. Okay, that's where it defines that it's by the month. And I'm going to push return, and I'm going to put the various counties in here that I'm covering. Okay, any graph that we do, we want to make sure that we're clear about what information there is. And I double click to highlight that. I'm going to unbold, and then I want the font to be smaller. I'll probably go with around 12. Okay, let me pull that down, make sure that the title's up here and centered. Okay, and it's starting to look good. Okay, now let's get some access titles on there. Okay, so we'll go to access titles, and we will go to primary horizontal axis, and below the axis right here. Okay, let me pull that up. We have a little bit more space to work with. I'm going to double click to highlight that. I want to unbold it. I want to increase the font size. I like 12, you do you. And I'm going to say January 2018 to April 2020. And what I'm going to do in parentheses, I'm going to say single family detached sales. Okay, that way people know that there's no condos in here. Okay, and I'm going to push return, and I want to put one more thing. I'm going to type my blog address in there. Okay, and I'd recommend for anyone making a graph, make sure that your blog is here very clearly, because you always want to see that credit is being given. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that down. I'm just going to experiment. I want this up there. I want my blog title down here. I'm just kind of moving stuff around where I like it. Okay, oops, I need to move that down. All right, I just feel like it's a cleaner look to have that there. And I think these could actually, let me right click on there, and let's try to get that just a little bit higher. I want that to be prominent. Okay. Now let's get the vertical axis in there. So I'm going to left click, and we're in layout, and I'm going to go to access titles and primary vertical title. Here's a rotated title. Let me give myself some more space to work. I'm going to double click there. Okay, get that to 12. And let's see, on this side, we're working with hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is the median price and average sales price. Okay. All right, voila. And let me scoot that over just a bit to the edge. Okay, perfect. I'm going to left click anywhere in there. We're at layout and go to access titles. And let's go to primary, secondary vertical title. I'm going to go to rotated title. Okay, going to grab that so we have some more space to work with. And on this side, remember, we're in the hundreds of dollars. We're going to be looking at average price per square foot. Okay. All right. Now, a lot of people think, especially appraisers sometimes give me crap over using average price per square foot, but let me show you how valuable this is in just a minute. Now, right now, this graph is not right. Okay. Sometimes there's a sense that we need to start graphs from zero, but it's actually not true. Sometimes when we're looking at price trends, we want to truncate the graph because look, these look really flat. Especially look at the median price in blue. It looks incredibly flat. And so what we want to do is we want to truncate this. I'm going to double click in there and let's see if, and we'll go to minimum, fixed, and let's see what begins to happen when I put in 300,000 instead of zero. Okay, do you see what happened already? The blue line looked really flat. Do you see how we're seeing this seasonal element when we just adjust it a bit? And so the graph becomes more clear to us. We're in control. We want to see the trend. That's the goal. Okay, let's take that up to 350 and see what happens. Okay, I like it at 350. That looks really nice. Yeah, and I feel like let's see, there's too many numbers here for my taste, and so I'm gonna put maybe 50,000. That's fine, and or maybe even 40,000. That'd be okay. Okay, I like that. 40,000 totally works. But what happened here is that we need to adjust the average price per square foot because it's kind of interfering, I think, with the average sales price. And so what we need to do is we need to double click in here and just kind of play with the numbers and go, well, what's going to work so that we see the trend a little bit better? And so we can maybe play around and go, well, the bottom's 210. What happens if we put in 230? Yeah, no, that looks kind of jacked up. So let's stay with 210. Okay, the maximum, let's say, what happens if we put in 270? Okay, so we see that. That looks like it's almost right to me, but what happens if I put in 265? No, let's go 270. I actually like that. Now, I don't like that every major unit is 5, so let's see, let's say 10, or no, maybe 15. You do whatever makes sense for you. But what I like here is that it sort of made it really tight. And I actually might, let me see. I'm going to adjust it here. I don't like the top. I think that there's too much space up there. And so what happens if we say 500? Okay, what happens if we say 490? Okay, and so we can kind of play around with it further. And what happens if we go 360? Okay, and then let me play with this. What happens if I go, what does it do with 280? No, that takes it down. So let's go 265. Okay, I kind of like this. I think this looks great. Now, for the people who are haters thinking, why are you using average price per square foot? I'll say this is exactly why. Because it's a viable price metric. It's one way where I can see the market. Sometimes average price per square foot can be a really refined price metric. It's not as prone to sway like the average sales price. For me, I would much rather rely on the average price per square foot than the average sales price. Now, in a neighborhood, when pulling comps, I think it's a terrible way to value properties by focusing on price per square foot. I have a video if you want to see my video on that. I'll link to it actually in the YouTube description. But on a market level, on the larger level, it can be very, very useful. So let me show you a couple more things. How do you get this image? There's two things that you can do. If you have a snipping tool, you could simply snip this, and select the graph you want, and then voila, there it is, and you save it to your desktop. Or what I do, I will left click anywhere in here. I push Control C, and that's a shortcut for copy. And for me, I'm on a PC. I opened up Microsoft Paint. It's a freeware program, and I push Control V, and that pastes it into Microsoft Paint. And I'm going to go to File and then Save As, and there's my image. But let me show you a couple quick things, how you add extra data, because the key is that you want to add data on a monthly basis. And so what here, I'm going to put May 2020 return. And that actually added onto my graph here. Now, it doesn't always do that. And so let me show you how to manually do that. But you notice that you're in field number 30. And so I'm just going to make up stats. I'm going to say 432 and let's see, 483, and I'm going to say 254. Okay, now it added that for me manually. Now, if it didn't add it manually for you, here's what you would need to do. Okay, right click on any of the price metrics, go to select data, and what you'll notice is that you can edit any of these. Okay, and this is it. Highlight either one. We're highlighting median price and click edit. And you can see in the value series, it goes from column C and it goes from 2 to 31. And so basically 2 down to 31. Okay, it should say 30 actually. But imagine if it just said 29 and then you just added a new data set and you would basically say 30 on each one. Okay. Um, and so you want to make sure that your data set it includes the new data, okay? Um, and that's what you do on each and every one, okay? It said 31 before because I did a test trial before this video. It wouldn't have said that otherwise, but imagine, okay, you've updated your data and you need to keep update. Say you add on 4 months of data, you go to select data, and I mean, you're just gonna figure where are your 4 months. You input your data, and then if it's down to 35, you just make sure that each of these would say, 35, 35, 35, and select this one and say 35, etc. Okay, and so it's as simple as that. Okay, what I'd recommend, save this to your desktop. It turns into your monthly market template. You don't have to make 100 graphs per month, but I guarantee you will show market expertise by sharing graphs like this on a monthly basis. The one last thing I would say in terms of data is make sure that you don't pull your sales stats too soon. Okay, it's going to be June 1st on Monday. I am 100% not pulling my stats on June 1st. I will wait to pull my sales stats between June 7th and June 10th because it takes about a week for all the sales in MLS to change from pending status to sold status. Okay, if I pull on June 1st, I'll probably in my market be missing about 10% of the entire market. And so if I do that, I end up looking very foolish because I'm mischaracterizing the market. Okay, and so a couple other things. Let me show you real quick. I'm going to push Control C. And down here, I'm going to push Control V, and I'm going to have a different graph to work with. Now, imagine that you're like, hey man, I just want a median price graph. I don't want this other stuff. And so I'm going to click on the legend, and let's see here. I'm going to make it, let's say go 460, no, 450. Okay, make this look pretty. All right. And so you can adjust it here, but and I'm not going to have this in the legend because if I just have the median price up here, I'm just going to put monthly median price in Sacramento region. I think it's redundant to have something in the legend when I can just put it in the title when we're dealing with one thing. Okay, now here's one other thing that you can do. If you left click on here and then you go to insert, you can actually make this a column graph if you want. Okay, voila. And so you have to kind of figure out what makes sense. Do you like it as a column graph? Do you like it as a line graph? Or let's see, I can go up here, Control C, and say I want to have just the average sales price and median price. And what I can do is, let's see, I can make this a column, and I can also make this a column. And you can kind of see like, does this make sense or not? I don't like this one. This would look really cool if you were comparing sales volume last year to this year. Maybe that'll be the next graph I'll show you. But anyway, there's a lot of different ways you can do this. And frankly, if on a month-to-month basis, you might have this graph, and then you might have a monthly median price graph. Maybe you have a graph for just the average sales price. and it gives you some variety in your visuals. But what you can do is you can keep these 4 or 5 graphs here, add new data, and then if Excel doesn't update it for you, you can manually update them. Remember, just by right clicking, select data. You do that on each of them. That doesn't take that long. Save these images, and you're showing market expertise. Anyway, I hope you like that. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll be doing these graphs here and there as long as I get good feedback. If you have questions, comment below. Please like the video. Thank you so much for your time today. Happy hunting. I can't wait to see what you create.